Hello, I'm Hannah, and this is Hannah's Books. Today is the first day of October, and I am eager to pick up George Eliot's Middlemarch later this afternoon and start celebrating this new month of reading. More on all of that is coming up very soon. But first, I want to do a bit of wrap-up for the month of September, a month when several of us joined the annual Shakespeare read-along, ShakeTube. Early in the month, my Shakespeare-obsessed son, who recently turned 21 years old, joined me here on BookTube for a couple of videos. I'll link to both of them below in the show notes. Abe has been a Shakespeare nerd since he was a youngster.
If music be the food of love, play on. Give me excess of it, surfeiting the appetite, may sicken, and so die. That strain again! It had a dying fall. Enough, no more. 'Tis not so sweet as it was before.
That little clip comes from a video he made a part of the first scene of Twelfth Night. At the end of this video, I'll insert a larger section for you to enjoy. Several of you have asked me how he became Shakespeare obsessed, what I did to encourage him. To be honest, I mostly tried to stay out of his way and to provide resources that would allow him to follow his interest as much as he wanted. Abe homeschooled, so he had plenty of time to structure his learning more or less as he chose. Let me make it very clear that I did not push him toward Shakespeare or towards his other major commitment either, music. When he was 10 years old, he decided to start studying the violin. He had gone to the recital of an even younger friend of his and decided immediately afterwards that he wanted to play the violin. He studied classical music quite seriously until roughly the time he finished high school. And while I think he did very much love playing classical music, perhaps the main reason he wanted to continue is because of his relationship with the amazing teacher with whom he studied. But during high school, he also became very interested in folk music, and he started a trio of young musicians who initially played primarily Irish music and then expanded to the traditional music of England, France, Quebec, etc. Abe continued to play fiddle, but he also learned to play guitar and Irish bouzouki, as well as a few other instruments. At some point, I'll talk more about his musical interests, but the reason I brought it up here is that his musical interests and his Shakespeare interest intersect. I'm hoping that the two of us will be making a video to put up soon that will show that intersection. Anyway, as I said, I did not push Abe toward Shakespeare, and neither did his father. In fact, neither of us knew much about Shakespeare at all before Abe. But here's how things got started all those years ago. My in-laws were coming to visit my young family, and we were looking for something special but inexpensive to do during the weekend. Somehow I stumbled across the Shakespeare Theater Company's Free-for-All, Washington, D.C.'s version of Shakespeare in the Park. The Free-for-All is now held indoors on the main stage. At least it is in non-plague years. But back then, the Free-for-All was held in an amphitheater in D.C. That first year, we thought we would picnic on the park grounds before the show and then join the throngs of audience members to watch A Midsummer Night's Dream. In the week or two before my husband's parents arrived for their visit, we decided to prepare our young son, then about 5 years old, to see the play. We were hoping that if he was familiar with the basic storyline of Midsummer Night's Dream, he might be willing to sit through at least the first half of the outdoor play. We first watched a great short video we found in our local library, the Animated Tales version. In the video, the story is laid out briefly and clearly, and the text of the video uses a lot of Shakespeare's actual words as well. My son was absolutely entranced. I know I've found a copy of the video on YouTube before, and if I can again, I will link to it below. Next, we watched what my son still calls the bicycle version, the 1999 film with Stanley Tucci as Puck. Abe loved it and was soon recruiting his friends on the playground to act out his own take on particular scenes from Midsummer. His young friends were a little baffled, but they played along. Show night finally arrived. We took our seats. I sat in an aisle seat so I could rush my son out if he became bored or fussy. He decided to sit on my lap, excited by the scenery and all the people around us. He wasn't bored, to say the least. Instead, when the actors came on stage, he started reciting Shakespeare lines aloud, right along with them. That was not something I had prepared for. I tried to shush him gently, but to no avail. Should I take him out? That seemed like a terrible option, but I was worried what our neighboring seatmates would think. Luckily, most of the people around us seemed to be retirees, missing their own grandchildren. They were all in hysterics, laughing at our young Shakespearean with huge smiles on their faces. They reassured us that it was all just lovely. I'm still very grateful for their amusement and patience. The next year, a teen homeschooler in our area decided to put on a Shakespeare play for our town. He gathered together a couple of middle school kids to play the leads, and then recruited all the young homeschool kindergartners, etc., to fill in the smaller parts. The young man cut Shakespeare's text to fit in about 30 minutes, and then directed his own little rude mechanicals in a wonderful production staged at the community center and very well attended. The young director continued to mount plays for 5 years, I think, until he headed off to college. Well, in this young man's homeschool production of As You Like It, my son played Jaques. He put a pillow under his shirt, an old pair of eyeglass frames on his nose, and he recited the 7 Ages speech. As he began to mature, more and more opportunities arose for him to participate in the extensive Shakespearean life here in D.C. When he was in 8th grade, he wrote a sonnet to submit to the Folger Sonnet Competition for high school students and won. The prize? A complete set of Folger single editions. Abe has read these books again and again and been able to see productions of all of Shakespeare's plays because of the vibrancy of the theater scene here in D.C. and in surrounding areas. My son also participated in a monologue and sonnet competition when he was of the same age. Here's a clip of his sonnet.
My mistress' eyes are nothing like the sun. Coral is far more red than her lips red. If snow be white, why then her breasts are dun. If hairs be wires, black wires grow on her head. I have seen roses dammest red and white, but no such roses see I in her cheeks. And in some perfumes is there more delight than in the breath that from my mistress reeks. I love to hear her speak, yet well I know that music hath a far more pleasing sound. I grant I never saw a goddess go. My mistress, when she walks, treads on the ground. And yet, by heaven, I think my love as rare as any she belied, with false compare.
And here is a bit of Shylock from The Merchant of Venice.
You call me misbeliever, cutthroat dog, and sped upon my Jewish gabardine, and all for use of that which is mine own. Well then, now appears you need my help. Go to then. You come to me and you say, Shylock, we would have moneys. You say so. You that did void your room upon my beard, and foot me as you'd spurn a stranger cur over your threshold. Moneys is your suit. What should I say to you? Should I not say, hath a dog money? Is it possible a cur can lend 3,000 ducats? Or shall I bend low and in a bondman's key bated breath, with whispering humbleness, say this, "Fair sir, you sped on me on Wednesday last. You spurned me such a day. Another time you call me dog. And for these courtesies, I'll lend you thus much monies."
One of the craziest Shakespeare things he did when he was young is this brief mashup of classical violin, Twelfth Night, Titus Andronicus, and Hitchcock.
That strain again, it had a dying fall.
Abe loved his time as a youngster in the Shakespeare world, and David and I have been thrilled to watch him grow up in this community we knew almost nothing about beforehand. Now that he's close to entering his adult years, he's still obsessed with the Bard. In March, my son's college sent kids home because of the pandemic, and theaters across the world shuttered their doors too. Abe found ways to continue acting and directing Shakespeare plays and other drama online. His college is only allowing a quarter of the students to return this semester, and he is not in that cohort. Because of his love of both theater and music performance, he was crushed to contemplate spending his senior year in lockdown. So he chose to take a gap year and has cobbled together some fairly interesting things to do during this unexpected time. Abe's an English major and intends to write his senior thesis about Shakespeare when he returns to school. And right now, he's thinking he may become a dramaturg for his career, or possibly go to grad school in English. It isn't the easiest time for any kid to think about how to go forward, really in any field. I'm thrilled to say that our son's love of Shakespeare has infected both me and his father. The two of us definitely are not the experts our son now is, but we're both eager to continue attending plays, discussing those performances as well as the original texts, and reading historical and analytical books about Shakespeare. Thanks so much to the creators of ShakeTube for giving us the inspiration to do some videos together and to have a few discussions that reminded me of the years my son and I homeschooled together. And thanks to all of you for joining me today for this silly little video. See you soon here on Hannah's Books.
If music be the food of love, play on. Give me excess of it, surfeiting the appetite, may sicken and so die. That strain again, it had a dying fall. Enough, no more. 'Tis not so sweet as it was before. Will you go hunt, my lord? What curio? The hart. When mine eyes did see Olivia first, that instant was I turned into a hart. And my desires, like fell and cruel hounds, ere since pursue me. How now? What news from her? But like a cloister she will veiled walk, and water once a day her chamber round. I offending brine, all this the season of brother's dead love, which he would keep fresh and lasting her sad remembrance. Oh, that she hath a heart of that fond frame, to pay this debt of love but to a brother. How will she love when the rich golden shaft have killed the flock of all affections?